What else can you say at this point about Shohei Ohtani? Thursday, he had an all-time great game. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 17 total bases, and a slew of other impressive stats. He has career highs in hits, home runs, stolen bases, and RBIs. On this particular campaign, as we're joined for the first time this season by our friend TSN Baseball Insider Steve Phillips. Steve, I know you're going to maybe accuse me of hyperbole here, but is this the best individual game that a player has ever had, in your opinion?
So I'm not sure it's the best individual game that anybody's ever had. There have been some guys that have had 4 home runs in a game, some that have more than 10 RBIs in a game. In fact, Mark Whitten, back when he was with the Cardinals, had 4 homers and 12 RBIs in a game. So there have been some with more than 10 RBIs, some with more than 3 home runs, some that had 3 home runs, that had 2 grand slams within all of that. But when you think about where Ohtani is, what this means to historically for the season that he's put together, the 50-50 season, and on the day that the Dodgers clinch a playoff berth as well, a playoff berth that he's never before experienced here in Major League Baseball, I think you can make an argument that it's one of the greatest games ever played, no question about that. And so where the numbers may not total what other guys have done, when you put it in context of where we are today, you could absolutely make a case that it is a historic and maybe the most historic individual game.
What about the season itself, Steve? Where do you think this ranks Shohei's season among the greatest seasons in baseball history?
Right, so we think of Babe Ruth, 60 home runs, Roger Maris, 61. Then we had Bonds and Sosa and McGwire back in 98 and all the home run chases that they put together and the 73 homers from Bonds. But we know for Bonds, McGwire, and Sosa, it's tainted with PEDs. And so I sort of dismissed that. Aaron Judge's 62 home runs was phenomenal. But when you're talking about 50 home runs, now 51 stolen bases, it's absolutely unheard of. The best and most impactful players are those that have the unique combination of power and speed. That's what Shohei Ohtani has. Aaron Judge can steal a base, but not like this.
Yep.
Aaron Judge can hit home runs. Ohtani almost like that. And so this is the greatest offensive season that any player has ever put together in the history of baseball.
And as you pointed out, he hasn't even made a chance to play the postseason yet. He's about to, as you said. Dodgers have clinched the playoff berth. Do you feel like his star is just about to get even brighter, Steve?
Yeah, you know, he had cooled off a little bit, and so I think the idea of him starting to heat up right now, heading down the stretch in the regular season, trying to chase the Phillies for the best overall record in the National League for home field advantage, but then to go to the postseason. I mean, we've never seen him in the postseason, but, you know, we talk about pressure. I mean, he had a friend steal $17 million from him, and he's unaffected by it. He goes out there and just performs with a smile on his face. There is no pressure. And so I look at him and think we've got a chance to see an historic postseason performance from him as well.
And he used to pitch. Steve, how should the Dodgers handle Ohtani's quest to eventually return to the mound?
Right, so it shouldn't happen at all this year. But I have to tell you, that when you see what he can do when he's just a hitter, if he goes back to pitching and hitting, his offensive game will decrease. We've seen that from him already in his career. He can't put up these kinds of numbers like he did this year while he's pitching as well. And what we do know is he's the most protected pitcher in baseball over the last few years, and he still broke down for his 2nd Tommy John surgery. Quite honestly, I would just make him a hitter. I would forget about the pitching because at some point he's going to break down. And when he does, he's ultimately not going to be able to hit at that time while he's trying to recover. He's going to have surgery on that elbow. And I don't think you ever want his bat out of the lineup. And the contract is okay if he's just a hitter as well. He's worthy of that number. Honestly, I would just make him a hitter and let him go out there and go 50-50 every year and just celebrate those offensive numbers.
And the most amazing thing is that as incredible as Shohei's season has been, he still has 9 games left to add to these historic numbers. This is our baseball insider, Steve Phillips. Great seeing you, Steve. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Jay.